everyone, and welcome to Build Your Best Life. We are super excited that you are here with us because you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to join us today. And guess what? I'm over the moon excited because I have a guest all the way from California. Hi, Terrell. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Thank you for allowing me to be here. Most definitely.
Oh, thank you. Yes, well, we are excited, but I want to take the time out to just thank everyone for your continued prayers, your comments, your like, your shares. And when you share this content, you are helping not only the person that you share with, but who they may share with as well. Because if we have content every day, but we never get it out to the people that need it, we aren't doing what we are put here on earth to do, and that's to help others. So please continue to share. I appreciate it. Well, I'm not going to linger there long because I am so excited about the topic that we have for you today. And, this discussion is for anyone who has ever made a mistake. Anyone, I'm going to say that again. This is for anyone that has ever made a mistake. And you wonder, can I come back from this? But for those who've been judged by their past, labeled by your worst decision, or defined by a chapter that you've already outgrown, this is for you. Being locked up doesn't have to mean being locked out of purpose. And freedom isn't just about walking out of a building. It's about walking into growth, responsibility, and a new mindset. Today, we're talking about mistakes, lessons learned, prison experiences, and what it really takes to rise above setbacks and become better. Not perfect, but better. Because when your mind is locked in, your future stays wide open. So we're going to have a great conversation. So just get ready, get ready, get ready. But right now, I want Terrell, just to let you know that we are delighted to have you here on Build Your Best Life. And we want to hear from you. We already know that you're going to be transparent as you have this discussion today. So thank you so very much. But tell our audience a little bit about yourself and your passion for life.
So my name's Terrell Lemons. I'm actually a former incarcerated individual. I'm a product of hard lessons and hard resets. Harder work and harder life. I've lived that lifestyle in the gang world. I'm originally from Compton, California. I lived a whole lifestyle that was absolutely incorrect. Do not promote it. Change did not happen overnight, though, and so I just want to talk about the little change that happened to me. I was sentenced to 48 years to life sentence. I didn't have nowhere to go. I mean, when they say when at the bottom there's nowhere but up to go. And so it took me a long time to get my tutelage together, get my foundation together. And so what happened was I did that. Committed a crime, got sentenced to 48 life sentence. But then afterwards, 4 years before coming home, I hopped in a program called The Last Mile, which changed my life. This was a web development program that started in St. Quentin, California. And so it actually taught me how to think. And so when I got taught how to think, it just changed the trajectory of my life, changed the narrative, helped me change the narrative. It made me see things that I didn't see before. It made me help and grow in ways that I didn't think I can grow in. It actually allowed me to see myself. So it was one of the best things that happened in my life. Since returning home, I've earned my Bachelor of Science degree in computer science, continued my studies in the graduate program in software engineering. I'm actually now the manager of The Last Mile of remote instruction, where we go inside and teach other students, incarcerated students, that don't have to be defined by that one mistake they made, that they can continue on. I've also worked for Experian as a software engineer there, where I'm over the whole the release of development. And so I've built my whole life trying to build it back up, because I was a black sheep, so I had to come out here and change the narrative of what people seen in me. So That was one of the hardest things that I had since I've been out. So most definitely that. And thank you.
Thank you. And first of all, we want to kudos to whoever came up with the Last Mile program, because I know it has benefited you and so many others. And, I tell people, they want to put down everybody that makes a mistake that they see make a mistake.
Mhm.
And I want to say, well, and I do say a lot of times, everyone is just one word, one sentence, one action from making a mistake. And we've all made mistakes, maybe not as bad, but a mistake is a mistake. But
Absolutely.
you are an example that you can overcome those mistakes. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. So, what was the most dangerous decision that you normalized early on, and how close did it come to costing you everything?
I think the most dangerous decision I did was actually normalize my behavior. And when I say normalize behavior, we all know it from a young age that what's wrong, what's right and wrong. Taking from somebody is wrong. Murder is wrong. We know this at a young age. And when I start to normalize that behavior, meaning that going out there thinking that I can go out here and shoot people and not have a consequence in it, I think that was the most dangerous part of my of my thinking, because you start to normalize it, thinking that you can do this and not have a consequence behind it. The only reason why I'm here today is not because I was owed a second chance, but because the law changed. All right. If the law had not changed, I would not be here. I wouldn't be sitting up here. I did 23 years in prison. I will have the same sentence, same law, same outcome. What I do appreciate, and I don't want to go into this, but the fact that when when the law changed, they didn't just let us out of prison. They made sure that when we came out of prison, we at least had a degree. We did so much behavior therapy. The behavior therapy helped change my life because I got into emotional intelligence. I think that was one of the things that saved me. Emotional intelligence is not, as men, we are taught to think that we don't have emotions, and that's not nowhere near true. What we do, we just suppress the emotion, and when we suppress the emotion, when someone do something to us, we want to go hurt somebody else. You have a girlfriend, she get mad at her, you don't want to hurt her, you want to go hurt somebody else. And so those are emotions that comes out of us, and so emotional intelligence allowed me to not respond. I believe in some way it hurts me, because people think that that you don't have emotion, that you don't just respond at everything they do. But what it is that you have the ability to think through things now. You actually, it's a lot of things you've seen already. You think through. You're not impulsive. You're not just responding to react. You're reacting to for understanding. And so it's a big lift. But I came close to losing everything because of the normalizing that behavior.
Okay. Yeah, choices have consequences. And so, a lot of people don't realize that. They get angry and they do something. And they, I didn't mean to do that, because so I shoot at somebody. I don't, it's out of anger, but their bullet may or may not hit them. And it's like, oh, that's not what I meant to do. I meant to scare them.
Absolutely.
So deal with it.
And consequences is bad. Absolutely.
Yes. So who were you when nobody was watching, and what habits did you have to rebuild when you decided to take life seriously?
When nobody was watching, I think I was somebody who still valued being trustworthy, straightforward, humble. I think I was educated and smart. But when you live in that lifestyle, you don't want everybody to see that. You don't want everybody to see who you really are. We hiding behind a lot of things. Our hurt, our blame. And so they don't see how smart you are. How educated you can become. And so for me, I had to rebuild all that. And so the biggest habit was learning how to think different. You know what I mean? Because behind the scenes, I've always loved education. But could I show that when I'm in the gang and I'm trying to lead people that we're not educated, that we don't believe in education? No, coding helped me do that. Coding helped me allow me to come and see who I am. I'm gonna tell you a brief story if you don't mind.
Sure.
I was on the yard, and it was a lot of stuff happening. And in order to be in this class, this last mile that I was in, you had to be disciplinary free. You get into disciplinary, you get kicked out of class. And so I was getting kites dropped on me and all this. This stuff was happening on the yard. Of course, I'm not doing it myself, but things are happening. And so one day I got a kite, and it was just I was called to the program office, and the lieutenant says, Lemons, I'm getting all these kites dropped on you, you know what I mean? And want you off the yard. What are you doing? I see you going to class and this and that. And so I left there having to, say I'm gonna do this or that. And I remember going to the yard, and it was like, keep in mind, I'm in leadership. I'm actually the leader of running everything at this time, of the yard of gangs I was from. And so I had to make a decision. And it wasn't like, okay, it was a hard decision to go to my homies, because, I think I had made my bones in everybody. And it was more of like, I'm gonna tell them that I'm finna step away from the only thing that I know, to go try something that I've never done before, that they say is, this is not a black man opportunity. These are white man and Asian opportunities in this engineering field. And so this is what the belief I had, and then for me, it wasn't hard to go talk to the gentleman, set them down, and I explained to them what I was doing, and they was okay with that. And it was because they was okay. They was okay with it because I I had a long list of things I've done in prison, but they see that I was changing other people. When I started going to them behavior therapy classes, they was going with me.
Mm.
They would start seeing me when I was helping people get out. They wanted to get out too. I've helped over 20 individuals get out of prison, from going to behavior therapy, checking them in the classes, going to school, getting them in the last mile. And so, and not just blacks, Hispanics, whites as well. I didn't just be selective. And the reason why I wouldn't be selective, because when I started learning code, it was Hispanic who taught me how to code. And so I didn't want to be selective on just who just go after our people. I wanted to help everybody because other people helped me. But it was because of me being able to to have the courage to step away from something, the only thing I knew, to something that I didn't know. Was just courage. And once I did it, I think it was the best decision of my life, most definitely.
Wow. Well, so when you look at TV, you see certain behaviors, certain things. So my question is, like when look at TV, you always hear that once you get in a gang, you can't leave out of that gang unless they take you out or whatever. Is that a true statement? And how, then I want to know, how did you get in that situation starting out?
I was kind of born into the situation. I was born and raised in Compton. My neighborhood was like my whole family, uncles, cousins, and all that from it. I didn't go through the traditional way, getting quartered on. I was actually just mentored in with, through cousins, family members, and things like that. My mother still stays on the block, so that's how I still have some kind of connection there. But more, they see me more as I'd like they always big homie, and I'd be like, no, we equal. I don't see the big me's and little U's. And I think that's when I was also leading, I didn't see that, and I wanted everybody to be equal. I had to be told one day that, man, everybody's not equal to you. Everybody's not willing to take the same sacrifice. So these are lessons you learn along the way. And so when you even move over to, the corporate world or whatever you're doing to get correct, doing a corrective behavior, you don't forget that part, that everybody don't have the same girth as you. You don't put people down because they don't have the same determination. You don't put people down because they can't do what you do. Determination is different, and a lot of it is from what you can see. For me, no, I think that's really unfactual. Because I don't think that a lot of people that's get in and separate. I mean, look at it now, like they supporting things that we was forbidden to do in our days, and this was I can give you a brief narrative about that. Like I remember that when I was growing up, they would be like, "Oh, you can't talk to the police. You can't talk to the police." This was what our older homies were telling us. This was inbred in us through our whole time. But when I got the leadership, that's when I seen that that's all they did. When I got to leadership, that's all they did was talk to the police and tell the police, oh, this and that. But you're telling me not to do it when I was under you, that I couldn't do it, and we couldn't tell, we couldn't do this, but that's all you do. So when I seen the life of contradictory there, it was easy for me to step away from it. I mean, I love my community. And I didn't just step away from them like that. Wouldn't give them advice. I remember so when I just adding on to what I just said a minute ago, when I stepped away, I told him, look, man, you can always come to me for advice. I said, but I need you to understand that when you come to me for advice, it's not for the benefit of the game. I'm not, you ask me, should this dude get stabbed? And I'm gonna tell you what benefits me. You know what I mean? Meaning that, no, I'm gonna tell you what, why don't you go make him run some laps? Why don't you go do some push-ups? So you might not want to come ask me about gang stuff. You know what I mean? Because I'm not doing it. I'm trying to go home at this time. At this time, I was that 21 years. I just got out the hole for battery on staff. I didn't do. I wound up beating the staff because beating the charge. And I remember going to the board, sitting there for like hours, 4 hours. Now at that time, that was the longest anybody had been in there, because they was, they was questioning all my gang ties, questioning how would I respond? Was I being truthful? Well, I'm being truthful with myself. And I remember them asking me, did I still have a desire for excessive wealth? I had a murder robbery, and so and I said absolutely, and they told me that my release was based on the answer to that question. And I said, absolutely. I said, now because of the last mile, I made myself marketable. I'm able to come out there and do something for myself instead of taking from somebody. I can actually build a career, make a career out of it, and give back to the community. So since I've been out, that's what I've been trying to do, is just make sure I give back to the community. The same way that I took from the community, I try to give back. And that was one of the biggest things that I could ever do, was go in here and be truthful. People was telling you, go in there and tell them what they want to hear. But that wasn't my truth. Like, I wanted to tell my truth. You asked me if I was going to be, I still have a desire for wealth. To this day, I still have a desire for wealth. I think, and they said everybody have a desire for wealth. So if you would have told us no, you would have been lying to us. We would have sent you back, 5 years to now. And so that's the reason why, to this day, I don't care what people say, I still live in my truth, because my truth is what got me here. The way that I am, the way that I'm not aggressive. I'm assertive, but I'm not aggressive. I know what I want, and when you know what you want, you know what you go get it. And so that's the difference between me and a lot of other people. But I think that everybody have it in them to do the same thing.
All right. Thank you for that. If you have just joined us, we are having an amazing conversation. Build Your Best Life is about overcoming obstacles to build your best life. And we are getting some transparent nuggets from Terrell. And our topic is locked in, not locked up. Locked in, not locked up. So if you've just joined us, you will have to go back and look at this video in its entirety. You can do that on Facebook or YouTube. But we want to make sure you get the whole picture. You don't miss a thing, because this is going to help somebody, preferably a lot of people, but I know it's going to help somebody. So thank you for tuning in. All right. So when structure disappeared, what personal discipline did you not have, and how did you learn to build without supervision?
I believe that when structure disappeared, the discipline I didn't have was like the emotional control without supervision. You know what I mean? When I say emotional control without supervision, I mean, prison gave me structure. I would not take nothing from that. I would not take my experience back. But also learn, as I said earlier, about emotional intelligence, behavior therapy. I think the people that don't go seek it, I think we're doing something wrong there, because I think that once we learn how to think, and we're not just talking about just like, I don't know how to think. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not do it impulsively, just reacting from a response. Somebody hits you, Somebody hit you, you respond. And I'm gonna give you the perfect example. So I'm in prison and I have, you can only buy white shoes. All right. Somebody come step on your shoes. And these are the most you can have at this time was $75 shoes. All right. Somebody step on your shoes and you so the other person might be having a bad day. And so the response can be from how I responded to him. Guy step on your shoes, and I say, hey man, what you step on my shoes for? And then it's his response. But how did that start? It didn't start from him making me mad. I made myself mad. I put value on these shoes, on these $75 shoes. Now I can go lose how many days? I can use up to 90 days, up to a year, because I have a fight, stabbing, whatever we take this to degree we take this to. But if I didn't value them $70 shoes, I can say, "Oh man, don't worry about it." He say, "Oh, your responses is different. Oh, don't worry about it, man. I got it. Don't. Oh man, I help you out. You need some." That's how you change the narrative about the response you make. Only you can make yourself mad. Another person can't make you mad. They can call you out your name and all those things. You say, "Yeah, yeah, that's who I am. You're right." And that you'll get more of a laugh out of them than anger. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it's about the response that we have. Sometimes that discipline is kind of misconstrued. All right, especially in relationships where people think that we emotionless. I'm not. I'm just intentional. I do everything with intention. You know what I mean? Um, Emotional attention has taught me I don't have to respond to everything immediately. I can sit back and respond. And because there was a lot of times I was sitting in there, not ever believing I was gonna go home, not ever believing I was gonna get another opportunity in life. And I sat there like, man, I could have did that better. I could have just imagine if I had worked them 23 years.
Hmm.
Just imagine if I could have had a relationship that long. I seen it was funny. I seen one of these things on YouTube about maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was funny because we always come out here like, man, I did 23 years and I did this, and it would have made me realize, and I'm gonna tell you what happened. He said, man, what about us that been out here for 23 years with these women, with these kids? What about, like that's who you should give props to. And I agree, because that is really living life. We preserving ourselves. We don't have no worries. We go eat every day. They give us food every day. We got a roof over our head. We get water. We can use the bathroom. I mean, sometimes it's on when they want to, but they give it to you. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Come out here and have to work for it and grind every day. I'm up at 4 or 5 in the morning. I don't go to sleep till about 2 or 3. So I may be on sometimes on 2 to 4 hours. Now I understand the work. So, but if you didn't have that structure, that discipline to do those things, um, it goes back to now just sitting around here doing nothing and want something to be given to me. And so it's a bad position. Prison gave me structure, but it also gave me a lot of other things that I can bring out here. Excuse me. And I think not being impulsive and not panicking is one of the main things it gave me. And but when you have when your structure disappear, your whole life can just spiral down, because now you don't have the discipline to sit there and listen to others. Take others' advice. I remember real quick, I was inside of prison, and somebody had gave me some advice, and I just thought it was just the worst advice they can give me because they wasn't living through it. But I did it myself, and when I did it, it benefited me. It benefited me greatly. And so what I stopped doing is, because somebody telling you something that's not living it themselves, that don't mean it's not correct advice. And
Right.
that's a lot of things we do. You know what I mean? Like somebody
Right.
say, "Oh, I just see him do it." He's not living his own. What he's preaching. Well, I mean, we all fall short of the glory, as they say. You know what I mean? But I used somebody advice that wasn't using their own advice, and I benefited so greatly from it that now I advise people to use advice, no matter who it's from. You can get something from. I mean, we every day we get something from an infant. We see how naive they are. We see that they don't care. You know what I'm saying? So we learn every day from something, but it's how much we want to take in. And that's very important about us taking in when we don't have structure in our life. I've never had structure in my life. My mother, I've never had a whooping before. I didn't know who my father was, you know. So I always tell people, and you almost heard me teared up on this one, because I was in Pelican Bay and I had just gotten a ride, and I was like, man, I was just tired of this lifestyle. And I was like, man, like, why am I all in this? I'm always into something. It's never my fault. Like, I'm not going to, taking off on people that, I was in leadership. So I'm not just doing reckless stuff. And I'm like, man, how am I always in these situations? I'm helping a friend. No, we got to start telling them friends that they're wrong.
That's
How do
right.
they know they're wrong if I'm riding with them saying, no matter if you right or wrong, I'm riding with you? No, man, that's not a friend. That might as well be your enemy. But the sincerity in it is what happened after I get in the hole. And I was like, whatever happened with my mother and my father, I never really knew him my whole life. I hadn't seen him since I was like 11 years old. I haven't talked to him. At this time, I was probably about 30, 40, 38, 40 years old. And I told my mom, I went to the hole, and I'll never forget. On Sunday night, I wrote my mother and said, hey, man, you know what? Whatever you and my father have together, that's between y'all. Reach out to my father and let him know I want to talk to him. I want to, have a relationship with him. I never forget, I got a letter that Saturday and said he died on Tuesday.
Wow.
And so for that, I always tell people, like, that structure starts at home. A lot of us reject it, especially when our mothers marry somebody else. We reject that person. We reject that man. And when we reject that person, because that's a lot of us have grown up like that, and we reject that man, and we start rejecting his structure, his discipline, when he might be telling you something good. It wasn't until I was sitting in them shoes for 3 to 5 years, sitting, thinking about all the things my stepfather would tell me. To this day, everything that I kind of do and say is from his tutelage. Him and my mother still together. But this was the relationship I was denying, I was running from. So structure comes because a lot of us don't want structure in our life. We want to be a man before we a man. We want to be 15 and be called a man. That's not really a man.
All
A
right.
man is not when you're 21. As man is when you're doing man things. When you're taking care of home, you're taking care of your woman. You're not doing those things that's bringing negativity to your relationships. And I'm not just talking about relationships with a woman or a man. I'm talking about those other relationships, those male relationships. When you have a good male relationship, I have a guy that the mentor. I think we each other's mentor, because we always bounce ideas off each other before we make certain decisions. Um, and he's 67 years old, did 41 years in prison. But you have to be able to listen to somebody.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Yes. And that's where so many, make mistakes. They have the people to listen to. And sometimes, well, I know this generation that's coming up now, a person with wisdom and experience can sit and tell them right from wrong. And they may believe what they say, but they are going to go by your actions. So,
Absolutely.
like the example you gave earlier, you had the wherefore to listen at the wisdom, even though that person didn't have the actions. So, that's a big difference as well. And we have to separate ourselves from our associations, those people around us, no matter who it is. Some are good for us and some are not. Some people come in your life for a reason, some for a season, some for a lifetime. So if their time is out, we got to know when to let them go.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. So, talking about people and what they say, who did you start listening to when you realized that just talking loud and hearing words wasn't the same as living right?
Um, um, I believe it was maybe I wasn't, I don't want to say converted. I use that word. I was still in leadership. I was still doing my thing, but I had met a gentleman that had been down um 41 years. At that time, I think it was like 36 years he had down. And I had just got out the hole for a battery on staff. And I had been sitting in the hole for about 4 years at this time. And so When I finally got out, they put, I just wanted a job, put me anywhere. I've always refused the kitchen because I've seen so much sickness come out of it. I was like, oh, but I didn't want a job anywhere. So I wound up giving me a kitchen job. And me and this gentleman used to get up and talk every morning. And I was just really infatuated by the things he was saying and how he wasn't, after 36 years, just hadn't lost his mind.
Mm.
And at this time, I didn't even think about having, being able to come home at all. It wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't something that I thought it was plausible at the time. But he was speaking with so much conviction about possibility of coming home. Um, Even today, we're still best friends and mentor each other. This was gentleman I was talking to, but um, we correct one another when we're wrong, because real mentorship isn't about riding with somebody blindly. It's about telling the truth so the other person doesn't end up in a worse place. All right. So that's who I wind up listening to, and me and him, I mean, it's kind of talk daily, and it just sometimes it's just encouragement. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes he have a problem, and I just sit there and listen, and you learn how when and not to add. Because I come to him about something, sometimes you just listen. He won't even give me advice. He tell me sometimes you just need to hear yourself say it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm able to give that to other people. I got three brothers younger than me, and when I came home, they was all doing everything illegal that they could do. Um, you know, and I came home around 2020, which was a COVID epidemic of the COVID was going on, and
Right.
nobody had a job. Everybody was getting the money that was coming to them, and I didn't come out here and saying, "Hey, man, you need to do this, you need to do that." Uh-uh. I came out here and showed them proof that what I can do and what you can do in this moment. And so, going on the backstory is that two of my brothers had when I first went to jail, they was in jail for a crime that I committed. All right. And so, I can talk about this freely because it was all dealt with in court. They wound up, the police know they didn't do it, put them in a lineup and told them to pick my brothers out. Well, the guy at the juvenile hall at the time, he was out of my neighborhood. He swapped my brothers. They picked the wrong person. He went home. He went home and went to the Air Force. I really appreciate him to this day. My brother Otis, and so the other one, my brother Willie, they kept picking him, saying he was me. He's dark skinned. I'm light skinned, and so they knew it wasn't him, but they still tried him. And so what they did is they put him in went through all the rigmarole, and he was felt some kind of way when I came home, and he felt that I was coming home to everybody giving me money, and he felt that he wanted, he felt that, like, some kind of way about it, like, I did this for you, like, and I said, man, don't worry about this. I said, man, I'm not going to apologize. I said, because I could apologize and go back and do the same thing and put you back in that situation. I said, no, I'm not going to apologize. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and I'm going to show you that I'm going to be a better brother, a better son, a better father. You know what I mean? And to this day, they tell me every day, it's like, man, I didn't know, why you did that, but I like the way you came out, because now I'm showing them by action, not just telling them, oh, I won't put my bad, I won't put you in that spot again, and then do it. You know
All
what
right.
I mean? So I didn't like, push him to him. What happened was, I can tell you about this. The incident happened over inside of a car. The car was registered to my mother's name. We went back to my mother's house, and they was looking for two guys. Picked my two little brothers, and it was like this crime was too sophisticated for them to get a 15 and a 14-year-old. And so, when I'm fighting this two other cases over here, this comes up. My auntie tell on me. I ran with that bitterness for years.
Mm.
I was in class teaching one day. I was teaching a class called CGA. CGA is an extension of AANA. All right, AANA is a Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotic Anonymous. So CGA is Criminal and Gang Anonymous. All right,
Okay.
Criminal and Gang Anonymous have to do with, you're not addicted to alcohol or narcotics. You're addicted to the lifestyle, and that's what is going on right now. A lot of people is addicted to the lifestyle. Even today, I go to Walmart and I see they got these little, you just slide your clothes, these automated, checkouts. And
Right.
that don't mean that my mind is not who I was. What it is, I just put tools in the way. I be thinking, oh, I got all this stuff. I could just slide this can of beans through and nobody will see. But is the consequences versus reward? Is the consequences, worth the reward? And I can afford it. So would I put myself back in a situation? No. Why? Because we learn too. So I was in this class one day because that's what the CGA is about. I would just want to give you a briefing of that because it's about not you're still the person you are, but what it does is give you tools to use to not to continue to do those behaviors. And so I was in there one day and I was telling them like, look, y'all got to be forgiving to some of these things that you was doing. I hadn't forgave my auntie for telling on me. I was still holding it. And
Mhm.
I'm telling you, you always hear this, like, man, you have the weight on the shoulders and you carry weight. I've never knew what it felt like to that day. And as I was in the middle of teaching, I said, you know what, let me stop and tell y'all the story. And I told them the story about what happened with my auntie, how she told on me and knew how it wasn't true what she said, but she told on me. And that's what, brought me more time. And so I said, but I had to let it go.
Yep.
She was already dead 3 years. I'm still holding. She didn't die 3 years ago of cancer. I'm still holding on to a belief. This is what we're talking about, the gang beliefs. This is why it's so hard to say we change with these gang beliefs because it's embedded in us.
All right.
And so I've walked away that day feeling a load off my shoulders. I've never knew what it was until that day. Because I was holding on to it. I was changing. I was, going to these behavior classes, going to this therapy, educating myself. But I was still holding something that was holding me down. And when I came out here, I wasn't mad. You know why I wasn't mad? I come out here and I had 4 crimies. I come out here and every last one of them dead. Nothing I did, nothing I did, just to keep living that lifestyle. And so what happened was, I didn't come out here mad at the police. I didn't come out here angry at my homies. No. I just felt that, okay, my homies that didn't hold me down, I don't owe you nothing. I come out here with a clear conscience. I don't owe you nothing. You don't owe me nothing. We good. And so my older homies, they like, hey, man, they support it because they know who I was. And I was nowhere near the person I am now, and I really appreciate that. I want to make sure that I do call out that my older homies really supported me when I came home and walking that path. I didn't never had no fear. Most of them was like we was real close knitted neighborhood, but hey, you don't owe nobody nothing to go live your life. When I go to graduations, they want to be there. They want to see this. They always want to see the accolades now.
Yep.
So it feel good, because you don't come out here angry, you don't come out here mad at nobody, and you're able to give people that energy. And when you give people that energy, you know what happens? You get it back. And so that's what I'm really appreciating that most definitely. So I listen to a lot of individuals. That don't mean I follow them, but you listen to a lot of individuals. But the one I listen to most is my guy Juan. Juan is really just been a blessing in my life for sure.
Okay. Well, I love that story because, while your aunt was dying of cancer, you were slowly doing that too, but yours was inside, eating you up. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that you have to let it go.
Gotta let it go. Best decision I'd have made in my life. Because I think if I would have came out here with that anger, I would have went right back to the lifestyle because I would have been trying to drain that energy out of me.
All right.
And so I think the best thing that happened to me was to do it while I was still inside, while I was still disciplining myself because I didn't come out like, oh, my life changed. No, you still have to build on that. You need people in your life to help build on that as you come home. Because when you come home and you see all these people making this money, you want to get back into the lifestyle.
Me too.
Because that stuff is addiction. Like I say, addiction to the lifestyle. Now, I wasn't addicted to drugs. I wasn't addicted to alcohol. I could do without. I didn't like that. I liked the money. I like the accolades with the, when I was younger, the ladies, the cars, and all. Now those things don't really like excite me. Excite me now is being home and being able to work from home from the computer. I have control issues, but they're my control issues. I don't put them on nobody else. What I do is I like the fact that I can tell the computer what to do and to do it. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like telling Alexa what to do, so you can
You know what I mean?
tell your computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good. All good stuff. I love this. It just goes to show when you change your mindset, your mind is not locked in.
Absolutely.
Hey, you can go with it.
Yeah. Can't be stubborn. I think that's a big part
Yes.
of what brings us down is not wanting to change or seeing some change and saying, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, be open to it. You know what I mean? And don't feel that you have to control everything.
Yes.
I think like my fiance, she'd be like, she don't want to, I'll be telling her when I bring the groceries in, I got it, because I'm gonna go and change everything facing me. I got this old habits from prison. I want everything facing me. I want them space in between. So I don't say, oh no, you do this. She go in there, she moves something, she grabs something. You know what I do? I don't say nothing. I just go in there, turn it around later. I don't have control. So them was my control issues. I'm not trying to force it on nobody.
I got you with that one.
Absolutely. You know what I mean? So most definitely.
Yes, definitely. Yes, I do that. I just go back.
We guilty. Hey. Most definitely. So you got to know where to put the energy at. You know what I mean? You got to know where to put the energy at. You just can't have the energy until if I have control issues, learn how to control your life. How you gonna control somebody else's life when yours is not in control? You gotta understand, like, everybody is able to make their own decisions. You can suggest things and you can help people think through things. You can give them advice, which I was always giving advice. Because of leadership, I was always saying, somebody was giving me some advice. I remember when I first get to prison, and somebody told me, older guy told me, never let nobody that's less educated than you run your car. And the car meaning your gang. And I didn't understand what he meant at the time. And then until you start getting in there, and you seem like, man, he's not as, why do you make that decision? And I would have did this. And then you tell him later on, like, why you make that decision? And then he said, man, you should have said something. And then it was like, okay, well, let me lead then. So yeah, but these are our own issues that we always come across, and one long as you don't force it on other people. And so that's why now I don't want to force my belief on other people. I did that my whole time in prison. I forced my belief on other people. No, you can't do this. Yes, you can do this. No, this is not allowed. No, I want people to make their own decisions now, because what happens is when they make their own decisions and the reward at the end, they feel self-fulfilled. I know how I felt when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, and it was just felt so good because I had been working on it so long. I had been in college for 10 years. I had been in college for 4 years inside before I came home. And what I did, I was just getting, AA degrees, and then it was like, came home, and then I had to start all the way over for computer science, because no prison's going to give you one in computer science, because they don't want you to have the access to security and things like that. So I had to do it all over. I could have went and got a degree in like a year, because I had all the credits, a year or two, but I decided to go in there, and it took me another 4 or 5 years, because I had to do everything that you would do in your freshman year all the way up, and it was worth it to me. And because it was what I wanted, my desire, my goals. You know what I mean? I didn't want to come out here and be a mathematician. I wanted to be a computer science, because of what I've learned. I didn't want to learn science, political science. No, I don't want to do that. I did enough political stuff inside of prison. I was done with politics. You know what I'm saying? So, so for me, I wanted to live what I wanted to do. When I came home, my brother was like, "Man, come drive for me." And I was like, "No, man." He was like, "Man, I'm gonna give you this." He gave me 20,000 when I come home. He's like, he don't want me to do nothing. He said, "Man, come drive for me." And I said, "That ain't what I want to do." I wanted to go coding. And
Mhm.
and so what happened was, this is my brother, love him to death. And I was like, "No, this is what I want to do." And sometimes what I wanted to do trumped everything. And when I went and did what I want to do, I'm more happy. I'm more
Mhm.
healed. I feel that I can contribute now. And so those things are very important, and why I always tell men and women both, make the decisions that you want to make,
That you.
because you the one have to wake up to you every day.
That's
You
right.
have to, appreciate where you are. Nobody else have doing that. And think about it. I went to management of here today. I forgot what I went up there for. Had something going on in the house, and guy was like, "Man, a guy had been out of work for 8 years, and he's a tech guy, and he's like, and I'm like, and I'm telling myself, like, man, I've been out of jail and I got two tech jobs. And so your limitations is only what you put on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really what you put on yourself. One job hired me and didn't hire, Experian hired me. And as an intern, I was intern for 3 years. Did I feel bad about it? No, I know I had to earn my way,
All
you
right.
know, for them to earn and trust that I wouldn't be doing nothing illegal, earn and trust that I would do the right thing in every cause. And after they hired me, I mean, I really appreciate where I'm at. I really appreciate the job that I do. I make sure that it's done correctly. I don't care what time it is. I'm gonna get the job done. You know what I'm saying? Because they put their faith in me, and it's about people putting faith in each other. You know what I mean?
Right.
So most definitely that.
I love that work ethics. Yes, I love it.
Absolutely.
Yes. So when you finally decided prison excuses, shortcuts, all of that was off the table, what plan did you replace that with, and how hard was it to stick to your plans?
Education, education. Um, the reason why I say education, because I think that education is a bunch of it's comprehension. And I'm just, if you don't mind, I'll explain why I say comprehension. Math is the only thing that changes.
Mm.
Two and two always equal four. 6 times 6 will always be 36. But political science gonna change. History gonna change. You know,
Yes.
uh, Science gonna change. All right. So what happens is, when you go take what is that? What is it called? SAT test, right? You go there,
Mhm.
they give you some information on a page, and they give you a multiple choice. And after the multiple choice, they give you some information. You read it, you comprehend it, and then you make the best choice of the answer. All right. That's life. Once they just give you that, like I say, all those other things gonna change over time. But the education, once you comprehend something and what it does to you, you always get it. And so education taught me application. All right. Application erased excuses.
Mm.
Told me there was no shortcuts, only um, long roads done correctly, done right. Once that clicked, sticking to the plan wasn't hard. It was work, um, but the reward was worth it. Every bit of worth it. Prison was no longer an option to me. I don't even have thoughts of prison. Only thing that I have thoughts of prison is memories, and those memories always tell me, don't do that, because it's a consequence behind it. You didn't like sitting there for all that time. You're gonna go back. So those are the things that I just deal with, the memories. And the memories is not like, I don't want to say. I would say this: the best day in prison has been is not better than the worst day out here. The best day in prison was not better than the worst day out here. So I really value my freedom. Absolutely.
That's good. That is so good. I like that. Education taught me application.
Application. I mean, because we can be. The one thing about education is, you can be smart, but if you don't know how to apply it, what is education? You know, if I know how to work on a car, I read a lot of books and all that, but I never work on a car, I will never get paid for it. All right.
Mhm. Right.
So application, actually, the actual doing is the process, not just the just knowing knowing the information. That's why they always say that knowing some street smarts is good, and then knowing some book smarts, because then you can put them together and have a better world of decisions. Coaching, being a life coach, is important that you have been around people that has been having those experiences, because if you're not, what experience would you actually be able to put forth? How would you be able to discern this from that if you hadn't ran across those people that really had those life experiences? Everybody's experience is different. Everybody's experience is different. How they took it on, how they reacted to it, how they responded to it. Everybody's life is different. So it's very important that that application is one of the most important things that I do for my life. Absolutely.
Yep. It's awesome. Well, Terrell, I look at it like this. Had you not gone through what you've gone through, you wouldn't be here today as a living testimony to give our young men 3 nuggets to help them to make a difference as they try to build their best lives.
Yeah.
So if you can give them some nuggets.
I do. What I want to do is that I think this is one of the biggest things that it's how things sound better in theory than in fact. All right. They always talk about the game is to be sold, not told. Right. I think the game needs to be told. Because when you tell people, it helps people.
Right.
If you're always selling something, somebody's always resisting. When everything's feel like a pitch, nothing is real. No, you always feeling you've been sold something that you got to be convinced. The real don't have to be convinced. You see it by action. Leadership don't come from selling. Leadership comes from clarity. When the game is taught, people understand the rules. They know the expectations. They know what winning look like. If not, they don't. They just know what losing look like. When the game is sold, people are confused. You know why? Because they only gonna sell you the level of information that you can pay for. But when it's just being told, they're not guessing no more. They don't have to read between the lines. Confusion never builds trust. Great leaders don't sell the vision every day. They tell the truth, set the standards, and live it out loud. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, everyone out there, as we close, remember that your mistake was an event. It was not your identity. Your past was a chapter, not the whole book. And your present experience or whatever you went through, whether it was physical or emotional, does not disqualify you from your purpose. Growth happens when we stop running from our mistakes and start learning from them. Freedom begins the moment you decide not to repeat what once held you back. So if you're listening today and wondering if change is possible, let this be your reminder. You're looking at it. Terrell Lemons, he is a testament and an example. If he did it, you can do too. But sometimes you have to ask the right questions. You have to seek out the right people. You have to listen, because a lot of things are going on around you. But if you're not listening and trying to discern what's good and getting rid of that's not, then you're going to be in a world of trouble. So that is why me, a person that does not know everything, have different people with different backgrounds, different expertise to come on the Blueprint for Success to help each and every one of you learn something that's going to help you in life. So again, thank you so much, Terrell. And is there any closing thought that has come up that you would like to share before we are out of here?
Yeah, I just want to let people know that we're not defined by our past. We are defined by our present actions, and continue to move forward in a positive way, and positive things will happen. It just one thing about, and this is what me and my guy always say, we play fair. And when you play fair, fair actions happen. So continue to just live your best life by always playing fair. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, you heard it. Play fair.
Absolutely.
So thank you all so much for tuning in today. I know I don't even have to say, I hope that you enjoyed this. I know that you did. I know there's someone that you can share this with. So please, please, please share. And of course, again, if you did not see the entire podcast, you can go on YouTube or Facebook and check it out at any time at your leisure. Thank you again for tuning in. Keep doing what you're doing, Terrell, and I hope that you'll be back on here with us.
Most definitely. As long as you have me back, I will be here.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay warm.